I kept waiting for a race to break out. I think of all the races I've seen in a long time, that was the less racing of any place we've ever seen, until they give them a little bit of horsepower on the short, at least on the short tracks. Because when them cars would get down below them, then the outside groove was so fast. If the guys had a little bit of horsepower, once they got down there, they could at least come off the corners.
Right.
When they run low, it bogs the car down. The first 4 races is completely different kinds of races.
Exactly.
It's hard for any team to be good on all those 5 different kinds of racetracks.
Okay.
We're back again.
We're back again from Bristol.
Yeah. I kept waiting for a race to break out.
Okay.
I think of all the races I've seen in a long time, that was the less racing of any place we've ever seen. And, they'd run the outside line, they'd run the inside line. Even the leaders couldn't get around some of the lap cars, taking 10 or 15 laps. And everybody run about the same speed except the 5 car. He just run off and left them.
But I was up there Friday, and just to walk into that place, Richard, and see the trucks parked and everything, and then I came home, and then you was up there for the race, but you was like me, you just watched it on television, didn't you?
Yeah. You watching the race in person, and once they start making pit stops and change around, and you don't know where anybody's at, because the cars got spread out. Most of the time up there, there's a lot of group cars running together. You didn't see none of that, and until they do something on the short tracks, until they give them a little bit of horsepower on the short, at least on the short tracks, then, because when them cars would get down below them, then the outside groove was so fast, and if the guys had a little bit of horsepower, once they got down there, they could at least come off the corners.
Make that work.
Make that work, but they're just no horsepower, so they can't go anywhere. And when they run low, it bogs the car down.
Well, you bring that up, but the 5 car was the best car running low.
He was way the best car
by running low.
Well, he could run high and low.
Well, yeah, but when he come up to pace the car, it took him a while, like you said,
right.
But he was really, really patient with Richard.
He'd come to pace the car and maybe gain 3 foot on him in each corner and finally get by.
Well, the announcer says he's gaining inches, so that okay. Might have been true. But looking at the stands and everything, and then we'll get back to the race, but it looked like a full house, and what a show.
It had a lot of people.
But like you
said, a lot of people expect to see a good race at Bristol, and I don't think they've seen a race at all. Okay. They've seen a happening, and that's about it.
Well, I think, 4 cars got eliminated from the championship,
right.
And they probably eliminated themselves by speeding on pit road.
A couple of them did, yes, you're right.
Okay, so
they made their own mistakes.
Yeah, and so, but I think the 11 car, I think that crew done a heck of a good job, and the driver did and everything, because he
ran hard all day. Okay?
Yeah, but he had to run defensive too, right. Richard.
But he had to run to make the race, make the cutoff.
Yeah, and he done that and done it in fashion. Yeah. Golly, it all gets back to qualifying, Richard.
Well, a whole lot of it does, because a lot of those cars that got lapped, if they had been up front when it started, then the 5 car would have never called them to lap them. But when you start the race and you're already a half a lap behind,
at the very first green flag
when
lap,
they throw the green flag,
yeah,
then the guys don't have to catch you a 3/4 lap; they just catch you a half a lap and they lap you. And what happened when it came down to the end of the race, to tell you how, the way I looked at it, how bad the race was, there was just 10 cars on the same lap. And most of the time it's 25 cars on the same lap, even on the short tracks.
Well, on that one caution coming up to the stage with like 8 or 10 laps to go, when the 45 stayed out and kept all them cars
a lap
from
down.
doing a wave around, and then that kept them that changed the whole race.
That changed the whole. That one car changed the whole race.
Yep, and you can't blame him for it.
No, he done what he needed to do.
He done what he needed to do
because he needed to get some points, and he wasn't running that good.
Yeah,
so he wound up with 5 or 6 points extra that he wouldn't have got.
But I don't. It's amazing that that many cars out there in a 16-second span, and they're running. And
you just had 2 cautions. Somebody got in the back of the 42 right early, spun him, and then
the 22.
The 22 got in between 2 or 3 cars. I think cut a tire down, and he spun, and nobody hit nobody. You know what I mean? So most of the time they're rubbing on each other. Somebody spinning somebody out, but you didn't see any of that. Everybody, I don't know that anybody was cautious. The cars were that was just the way they were, because they could run. There was a couple cars that run right in the middle of the racetrack and made pretty good time.
But I don't know. You're talking about horsepower helping them. I know it would help the car that would run low trying to pass somebody, but it would also, if you could come off and use that horsepower running high, that'd give you that much more go.
But really, the horsepower would let the bottom car
make up the difference. I get that.
Because the guy on the outside is already running as hard as he can run.
Yeah.
Okay? The guy on the inside runs in, gets beside of him, but then he's got no horsepower to pull him up out of the corner. And so, a couple of hundred horsepower would really make that more interesting.
And I guess one car, we'll just call the number. I think the 99 was really a lucky car to still be in the hunt for the championship, because
that goes back to not how you run sometimes. Going in, they had them points.
He had them points.
I just don't like the point deal. I think when they start the playoffs, everybody ought to start even, just like they do in football, baseball, basketball, and everybody starts off even. But, then that would probably kill the rest of the season, which it wouldn't make any difference as long as you made the top 16. So I guess they got to have some points in there to make the people run and run a little bit harder.
Yeah, I just but that's another race that's over with, and
we're going to Kansas now, and that's a completely different. In other words, the first 4 races is completely different kinds of races.
Exactly.
And then the next one's going to be at Charlotte and Roval. So the first 5 races, a completely different deal. So it's hard for any team to be good on all those 5 different kinds of racetracks. And
one of those races, Talladega, anybody can win it.
That's completely. You just toss that out.
But going to Kansas this week, that ain't a bad racetrack, Richard.
Most of the time they put on a decent race there.
Yeah.
And once the track got wore out a little bit, they made a pretty good race out of it.
Yeah. But still, we still pull hard for the 42 and the 43, and if I'm using that word again, I don't like it, but we need to qualify better, and that would help a lot of stuff.
They need to run better all the way around, not only qualify. But if you qualified better, then that would give you the opportunity to do some strategy that would get you and keep you up front.
Yep, no doubt about it. Okay, so we're off to Kansas.
We're off to Kansas. We'll go out there for a couple of days and check them out.
Okay, bud.
I don't even know. I know we ran up there for a long time, and then I think 75 something, 76. Wound up winning 3 races and 3 or 4. Won 3 races out of 4 or 5, and everything just came together. But I really don't remember that much about it. It was in one of those deals where we was winning races everywhere else, so I guess Bristol came up.
I don't even remember what years we run Bristol, so I'm gonna check off on this one.
I don't even know who's eliminated.
The 19 is what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Probably the 19.
And then if you want to say the second one, I'd say the 54 car. But
the 54 had run real good. He really had run or showed better most of the race, most of the races than the 19. The 19 is just everything that can go wrong with them goes wrong. New York. The one we had the most fun on was Islip. That was a fifth of a mile, and I've told this story before. It was a fifth of a mile racetrack, and we started one night, and I started on pole, and I got the green flag, and started passing people before they ever got the green flag. There was cars all the way around the racetrack, so that's the most memorial one I remember.
Yeah, I remember that distinctly, but the promoter, it was on the Northern Tour, and the promoter tried to pay some people not to start. That's how many cars there were. But I remember up there, Richard and Allison kind of got in a little bumping match during the race, and me and Maurice kind of got in a little scuffling match with some people. And
if they'd have put y'all in jail in New York,
I was a little bit afraid I was going to be in jail in New York City, but we went on to run another race the next night, I guess.